Today I'm going to show you one of the most primitive trading strategies you've ever seen. But I swear to you, it works, and thanks to the most basic knowledge, I recently earned 6,000 in just 2 trades. The simpler, the better. You can open a cool trade because you are not sure about your strategy. You know a lot, but everything is mixed up in your head and you are afraid every time you need to open a trade. Now we are going to fix it because I'm going to explain simple things in even simpler language. After watching this video, you will be surprised at how much your Forex results will improve. So before we move on the reviewing the trades, they are also posted on my free Telegram channel. I want to introduce you the most basic thing that will be used in our strategy today. By the way, the review of the trades I will be making today has been published publicly. You can view them by simply going to my channel via the link in the description. There is a lot of interesting content here. I share my results and will now explain how I do it. Look, let's visualize this picture. Imagine that I have just drawn a daily candle. Here we have an ordinary Japanese candle with a time frame of 1 day. Accordingly, this candle has a certain maximum and a certain minimum. That is, we have just defined 2 key levels that we'll be working with today. This is the resistance level, which is at the top, and in this zone we have a huge number of sellers, and we also have a buyer level that is a support zone, which is at the bottom, and here we have a lot of buyers. At the same time, the chart may look completely different during the day, but here, for example, is a picture when we have a maximum and a minimum. After the day ends, a new day begins, a new trading session, the stock market rises and falls again, but we are waiting for 2 key moments, reaching the lower and upper levels in order to open trades, either down here or up or right here. This is our simple strategy for today. In this strategy, we will be helped by a very cool indicator that can highlight all these highs and lows in advance. This indicator has a very simple name. In the trading terminal, we go to the search and type it in. Here is the name of this indicator, added from this author. It has 3,000 users. Now, the most important thing is to configure it correctly. Go to settings and enter the time 0.00 to 23.45. And set the UTS zone +0. That is, click Save. Now every day the necessary minimums and maximums are highlighted for us so that we don't have to do it ourselves. Now let's move on the analyzing trades. So we are now in essence going to look for a trade in real time. Let me remind you again what we are going to do today. We will only use a rectangle to open trades. You may say, yes, this is crazy, it's too simple, it doesn't work. But friends, it does work because it is very simple and understandable. And most importantly, it should be simple and understandable for you too. Because otherwise you will not learn how to open confident trades. The more trades you open, the more you will understand the mechanics of the stock market and how to work with it. And you have a bunch of indicators, a bunch of unnecessary information that clogs your head and prevents you from making money. Look, what we need to understand, we have identified the maximum and minimum of the previous day. Now we have a new day forming with its own boundaries, which we are not paying attention to yet. Our key boundaries are the current minimum and maximum. So far the stock market is growing. We are somewhere in the middle between sellers and buyers. And the most important thing to remember is that we are not looking for trades here. Candlestick patterns in the middle of the trading range doesn't work. Indicators doesn't work. We are waiting for the stock market to reach one of the key zones. For us, the nearest zone is the seller zone. That is, here on the previous day, a bunch of sellers didn't allow such an impulse to go higher. That is, at this point, our upward movement stopped, which means that a huge number of sellers concentrated at this point, causing us to even update the previous day's minimum. Look at the movement, we had already that. Now let's go back to our chart. The most important thing we need to do is to look for the conforming factors, which are necessary for trading. We are now approaching the seller zone. And at this point, any indicators of buyer's weakness could work in our favor. So here I am well aware that we have had a long-term upward trend along the trend line. Here is the first trend line, and here is the second trend line. Now we have broken through this trend line, and are essentially at a trend reversal point. Most importantly, we also have a candlestick pattern here, namely a bearish engulfing pattern. Here we have a rising candlestick. Here is a falling candlestick that engulfs all the previous declines. Accordingly, the road to the lower border is now open. That's why, after this pattern, I immediately decide to publish this signal. So once again, in the free channel, where the link in the description, you can receive such signals and copy them, not only manually, but even automatically by connecting to my account. Well, let's get back to placing the position. The Imbalanced Zone Indicator will also help me with this. You can turn it on and see what uncovered imbalanced zones we have left. And here I realize that I would like to place the stop a little higher, but at the same time, in order to make the risk-reward ratio more comfortable, I want to set as a target the update of this local minimum, from which all these growths are originated. So now the trade looks quite comfortable for me. Let's see how it closes. After some time, we see a drop from the upper border, I mean from the maximum value of the previous day. And on this wonderful trade, I earn this much. The analysis of the next signal from my open channel is also very simple. Very little time has passed, literally the next day. We also visually mark the upper limit that interests us and the lower limit that we are also very interested in. Look, since I have been trading for a long time, I sometimes notice moments like this. Here we have an ascending wedge forming. It has a good upper and lower boundary to try to trade it. So let's see how the situation develops now. Look, friends, we are exciting this wedge, plus we have practically updated the previous day's maximum. It is not necessary, of course, to update it, but if we have updated it, then this is a 100% signal. Here is a good signal at the exit from this wedge. I understand perfectly well that I can only set a stop at the beginning of this decline, because I cannot afford a very long stop here. Although, if we turn on our Balanced Zone Indicator, I understand that, for example, the lower limit of our daily range is a good target for our decline. At least by the beginning of this wedge, our chart should fall. Also, this is only the lower limit of the current day, and in fact the lower limits is much lower, and only from this limit would we open positions for an increase. We have a 1-to-2 risk trade, which is a good trade, so let's see how it works out. The trade works out instantly, practically in a few candles. The signal was given on time, so those who were watching this post in the channel at the moment could easily open the same good trade that I opened. Instant execution, this is how much profit this trade brought me, and this pattern, namely the ascending wedge, worked only because we were close to the key area of interest. There is no point in looking for these patterns in the middle of the range, somewhere let's say here or in the middle of the previous day's range. You must clearly understand that you have an upper limit where you are going to sell and the lower limit where you are going to buy. You don't even trade anything else until you have gained your own experience with this strategy. Trust me, many years ago only this strategy helped me finally get out of the red to the profit, and all this happens only because for the first time in my life I started to simplify my trading instead of complicating it. Thank you all for watching this video. As always, I will leave a link to my free Telegram channel with signals in the description below this video. Well, we'll see you again very soon.